commerce. They always did this. Julius Caesar thought that he was too big and started bucking up against the financial structure at that time. They assassinated and killed him because whoever controlled the money controls the Caesar's seat. So, if these people can control at that time, what makes you think they're not controlling now? They're the people that, just like they set up the Caesars, they set up your Roman Pope. Yes, the Caesar line is the same bloodline of the papacy is the same bloodline as the Roman Catholic Church, where the deadly wound was healed. They're the same Caesars, the same bloodline, the same Idumean bloodline linked directly back to the Caesars. Herod the Great. Look at Herod the Great's bloodline. Herod the Great's bloodline right now links to Bush, links to Cheney, yes, links to Barack Obama on his mother's side. Absolutely. These are the same power structures that were set up under Caesar. These are antichrist structures. Now, I can't go through the whole book, but this is a good book to get, called History of the First Council of Nicaea. What happened, yes, Aleister Crowley, the Satanist, is also linked to Herod and the Idumeans. What happened is that because Christ gave the disciples power, unfounded power that was not in the earth before that time, to cast out spirits, to take out spirits, they were a threat to the Roman Catholic evil regime, or the Roman regime at that time. So Constantine, being a pagan, here's a picture of him, a statue of him. He had a meeting with all the top psychologists and historians at that time of all religions. He said we must come together and create a universal religion. Not because he wanted all people to pray and be under one power under God. They needed an allegiance against this teaching that Christ was bringing forth that was destroying the Romans at that time and converting people out of paganism. So they needed a concerted effort with all the demons and spirits and powers that were dealing with idolatry to come together to compromise Christ's teachings. So they came together. But in order to deceive the people, they had to use the records, or use the records that we call the Bible today, or the Hebrew records, as the foundation in which they would hold or hoard to themselves, since these books or these records could cause the biggest threat. They had to control them. And what they did was they integrated paganism with Christianity. The compromise laid more so on the believer's side, the people who believed in Christ, because they had to give up the most. If they didn't compromise, then Constantine and his political cronies would make waves or destroy them financially, will try to smear their character, or kill them altogether. That's the Arian dispute that's written of during the Council of Nicaea. That's the Arian dispute. So the compromise was saying, well, okay, we as people have to respect each other's religion. It wasn't about respect. It was about allowing these demons to survive within their religions, so that Christ's spirit cannot cast out the demons that were controlling all these pagan religions in the earth. It wasn't about coming together. It was about keeping their power structure and controlling this spirit that Christ brought in the earth, and eventually exterminating or extinguishing it altogether. That was the plan. The biggest compromise or burden of the compromise fell on the Jews who followed Christ. They had to compromise their holy day. They could no longer look at the Sabbath day in which the Most High said, remember to keep it holy. They could no longer acknowledge that day as a holy day. They had to acknowledge the pagan Sunday day. And he said, here's the compromise. Your Christ rose on the first day of the week. So you just celebrate Christ's rising on the same day we celebrate our pagan deities. Therefore, you can still do it to Christ, but we don't lose our power, the spirits that are empowering our religion. Arian wasn't going for it. It's called the Arian dispute. They poisoned and killed Arian. Do your research, do your history. The Bible have holy days in the Bible. They compromised and say, listen, we have our pagan days that benefit our people. I'll tell you what, you can keep the name of your gods. Let us keep our traditions. But through time, the traditions overcame the followers of Christ. Someone call back. You call back. Okay, one moment. So, through the traditions, eventually the traditions overcame the people of Christ. Now, let me get into the Bible and reel this in to show you the great deception. The greatest deception comes from the Roman Catholic Church, or Rome. The Idumeans that ruled, or the money changers that Christ actually whipped out of the temple, were the fathers of the Jewish powers today that control the money today. They infiltrated the temple under Herod the Great, who was an Idumean himself. He was not a Jew according to blood. Okay? He was set up as a governor over Judea, the first Gentile ruler over Judea. Now, last week, there was some history taught how King James had to authorize a translation during his time, knowing that the Roman Catholic Church was reborn as the Renaissance period, and they were taking down the black or dark thrones during the Dark Ages, and King James sat on 3 thrones at once. France, Ireland, and Great Britain at once. He was called the King of Scots. They killed him. Well, eventually, there's some poison that's connected with his death, but it's still it's a conspiracy that haven't been solved up until this time. I guess it would be like the modern day assassinations we have today. He was known for his content against the Roman Catholic Church and the threat that the Catholic Church would have towards Christ's pure doctrine. We went over that, so I'm not going to go over that. That's some information that'll be readily available for you. Now, there's another brother during the time of a little before King James called Martin Luther. Martin Luther also have records against the Roman Catholic Church and their agenda. I need you to read some of what you have there, lawyer, and give them the title of what you have.
Okay, this is an excerpt.
Speak a little louder.
This is an excerpt from a book called Luther's Works, which are the works of Martin Luther. And in Luther's Works, Volume 2, page 281, you can find this excerpt. It says, O Christ, my Lord, look down upon us and bring upon us the day of judgment, and destroy the brood of Satan at Rome. There sits the man of whom the Apostle Paul wrote, that he would oppose and exalt himself above all that is called the Most High.
Hold up, I need you to read that again. What's the name of this?
It's Luther's Works, Volume 2, page 281.
Luther's work, I want to make sure they get this. Volume what?
Volume 2, page 281.
Volume 2, page
281.
281.
KS.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You can find this yourself. Excuse me. Luther's Works, Volume 2, page 281. Read that.
O Christ my Lord, look down upon us and bring upon us the day of judgment.
Bring upon us the days of judgment. Read.
And destroy the brood of Satan at Rome.
And destroy the what?
And destroy the brood of Satan at Rome.
And destroy the what?
The brood of Satan at Rome.
The brood of Satan at Rome. So Satan was the spirit controlling Rome during Martin Luther's time. Read.
There sits the man of whom the Apostle Paul wrote that he would oppose and exalt himself above all that is called the Most High, the man of sin, the son of perdition.
At this time, they're talking about who? The Pope. Why? The Pope bloodline links directly to the Caesars, who were set up under Satan. So Martin Luther, who was a serious biblical historian during that time, tried to defend the content of the gospel during the tail end of the Dark Ages. Read. I need you to go into what Martin Luther gave us, and what we need to see the bullet points of Martin Luther and what he was trying to get us to understand concerning the Roman Catholic Church and the papacy. What was he trying to stop the Romans from teaching within doctrine? It's in this doctrine. It's in this document, Luther Works, Volume 2, page 281. And it goes into the things that Martin Luther was fighting against. What was the first thing that he said ignore if they try to teach this?
It says, it was well known at this time in history that the upholders of Satan's Antichrist teachings were the Roman Catholic Church.
At this time, there was no question that Satan's teachings were through the Roman Catholic Church. Go ahead.
And also, I want to clear up, before I continue going into this, I want to clear up, this is information that we put together. This is not in the Luther's Works. This is information that we put together. It says, it was also well understood that the Antichrist spoken of in the Bible was a governmental structure opposed to one man.
It's a what?
It was also well understood that the Antichrist spoken of in the Bible was a governmental structure opposed to one man.
So in the 1500s, in the turn of the 16th century, it was well known that the anti-government was the Antichrist instead of looking at one particular man. They knew it clearly back then. Paul knew it. But something happened. Something happened when we live in a society that's waiting for one man to pop up as the Antichrist. When they understood exactly what was going on in the 16th century. These records are out there that you can find yourself to show you that the Roman Catholic Church was opposing Christ since Rome. So you can't believe any doctrine or influence they have in Christ's doctrine. They started bringing forth the understanding to make people look at a man opposed to a government structure, because why? They were the government structure in rule. No way they wanted people looking at them as the Antichrist. So they got their psychologists, because that's what they are, and their philosophers together and say, listen, we must structure something to revert this bad publicity off of Rome. Let's tell them that it's a man opposed to a government. Read.
This is what set the stage for the Roman Catholic Church to bring forth one of the biggest doctrines to influence modern-day Christianity.
It says, this is what set the stage for the Roman Catholic Church to bring forth one of the biggest doctrines to influence modern-day Christianity. That doctrine of one Antichrist, and you see this in the movies like Left Behind, the little fiction lies that are backed by the Vatican. They got so many lies in that Left Behind book and movie that it's ridiculous. Waiting for an Antichrist. Waiting for two of the prophets to be prophesying outside in Jerusalem. Waiting for people to disappear out of nowhere. And then after they disappear, one man, one political ruler rise up as the Antichrist. And those believers in Christ stand against the mark of the beast. And then Christ comes again. He raptured the people, then he come again after a 7-year period. All lies and deception. Finish reading.
As a result of this, many people started removing themselves from the Roman Catholic faith.
So people started leaving the Roman Catholic faith once they began this teaching, actually diverting people from the truth. Read.
During the year 1585, a Jesuit general by the name of Ignatius Loyola.
Let me type this in so they can actually look at this themselves. Ignatius
Loyola.
Loyola. A Jesuit named Ignatius Loyola. Now, mind you, these people link directly to the Jewish powers we have today. The Jesuit order is strictly the so-called Jewish powers sect within the Roman Catholic Church. They're one and the same. So the Romans didn't go anywhere. They converted. They converted into Judaism. They became your Khazars during the time of what we call the during the time of the Crusades, when they were pressed between the Christians and the Muslims. They converted to Judaism. But before that, they were the remnant of the serpent people. They were Roman Empire. They were Rome. They were Roman. So they hid themselves by changing their names. Sounds familiar? Hid themselves by changing their names. Let's see what other content of doctrine they had up their sleeve.
It says, during the year 1585, a Jesuit general by the name of Ignatius Loyola sent forth a decree to fellow Jesuit Francisco Ribera to compose a 500-page commentary of Revelations.
So they paid someone, a deceiver, to make a 500-page, a 500-page commentary on Revelations that would one day become an authoritative record in the future. See their deception? So they came together and said, listen, we cannot thrive if the people know that we are the Antichrist government and power structure of the earth. So let's get together, let's get the historians together, let's get the philosophers together, and let's do a commentary in which we can divert the people in the future from understanding what those that are living today understand. They knew they were the Antichrist back then. See, but when you live in a society and the majority of people are dumbed down and you're dealing with slaves with no history, these records become authority. And because you have no substance or history to draw from, you believe it's doctrine. Continue to read.
This entire commentary was written in Latin and was titled En Sacram Beati Ionis Apostoli and Evangelistique Apocalypsin Commentary.
And Latin is a Satan's tongue also. Latin is Satan's tongue. And they did it in Latin. Read on.
Within this 500-page commentary,
Within this 500-page commentary was what?
Ribera was instructed to push the following ideas.
Ribera, by the Jesuit order in the Roman Catholic Church, in his 500-page commentary, was forced to push this particular doctrine in this book. What's the first thing he had to push or promote?
The Antichrist is one man.
The Antichrist is what?
The Antichrist is one man.
The idea of the Antichrist being one man came from the Roman Catholic Church to divert people from them. Read.
The Antichrist is one man, opposed to a government structure.
So we need you to put in this commentary. Now we know Jesuits. Now you need to look up history of the Jesuits. I'm going to give you this information. Y'all need this. History of the Jesuits. These are high sorcerers that link directly to the Jewish powers today. Believe it or not, you see those people in all black in Jerusalem with the curly locks and all that? Believe it or not, they are a faction from the Jesuit order. They follow the same witchcraft and sorcery. This is where the Roman Catholic Church recycled their Jesuits and their Jesuit council through the Jewish powers. They are one of the same. Now, what did the Jesuit order do? The Jesuits were with Christopher Columbus. They were with the conquerors, the conquistadors. They were the power structure and the evil spirits over the captivity of our people over in the western coast of Africa. They were behind the destruction of the North American Indians. Their political mindset and sorcery allowed the Roman Catholic Church to take down the earth. They are top sorcerers. And the Jesuits played all sides and they hide themselves. But they have an agenda. They had an agenda here. The Catholic Church called the Jesuits and say, listen, people know that we are Satan's people. How can we divert this? They got some professionals together and say, listen, let's make a book 500 commentary in the future so that we can take this stigma off of us. Number one, we have to tell people that the Antichrist is one man, opposed to government structure. And we will pay people to teach this. We will pay your theologians because we own the theologian churches. We own the authority of the book. So they'll have to come to us. So what we'll do is we'll pay people to tell everyone that the Antichrist is one man, and we'll continue to fuel and fund this false agenda. Okay? Opposed to a government structure. So instead of teaching who the Antichrist is, they would teach that it's one man in which no one can find. And then in turn teach everybody that the governments in the earth are set up by God and you must follow the government powers or you're not following God. So they trick the people into following Satan. They deceive the people. Just by that one little bullet point, that one idea. So you feel that, listen, I don't have to get my life right at this point because the Antichrist hasn't been revealed yet. So we have time. They wanted you to think that.